Hi, welcome to episode 449 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarn and patterns. Hi, how are you? I hope that you are doing well. It is Sunday, November 12th, and I am coming to you a day early because I am once again taking a field trip up to Hamilton tomorrow, where my company is headquartered. But it adds about 3 hours of commuting to my day, and so I won't have time to record a podcast tomorrow. However, I have lots of good things to show you. I have been very knitty and a little bit spinny this week, and so I have lots of things to share. I've done a little bit of sewing this weekend. I didn't bring anything to show you. I'm making some small zippered pouches for gift cards for my family, and they're not coming out as easily or well done as I would wish. They're okay, but I sort of gave up after the first few, and I have a few more to do before the day is over, so that is kind of something I'll do next. It's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're just enjoying a nice, relaxing Sunday. It's kind of the last one before the holidays kick in, because sort of administratively, I'll tell you that there will likely not be a podcast next week. Next week is the Thanksgiving holiday in the this week we are, I'm recording as though it were Monday's podcast, which would normally be November 13th. The week of November 20th is Thanksgiving week in the United States, and for the first time since before the pandemic, we are actually going to go to California to see my parents. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and we used to every year go to my parents' house out there for Thanksgiving. And obviously the pandemic kind of got in the way of that. And so in 2020, we did not do Thanksgiving together. And then the years after, we have done Thanksgiving at my sister's in Chicago, which is much closer for us, much further for my parents. But we did that so that the kids did not have to leave their home environment because Chicago Public Schools basically said they would have to quarantine for a couple weeks, and we didn't want them to have to do that. So, so we're going to California, which is exciting, and also, I'm trying to get everything in order. My family doesn't celebrate, Christmas. My family is Jewish, so we celebrate Hanukkah, and, we always kind of do, even though it doesn't actually fall at the same time most years, we do a Hanukkah celebration while we are there for Thanksgiving. So one night is Thanksgiving, and then one night we make latkes and say the prayers and sing the songs, and we exchange holiday gifts. So I am always kind of rushing to get everything done by Thanksgiving, and so that is kind of what I am doing right now. I will have a little bit of a reprieve until Christmas for my husband's side of the family, because my husband is not Jewish. So it's a little bit busy and crazy, and it's November, and I feel like once we kick off the gateway to Thanksgiving, then it's just a few more weeks to Christmas and New Year's and sort of everything. So we have kind of begun the end of the year thing, and I can't believe that we're already in November. Anyway, all of that is to say that I have been quite busy, and that I'm looking forward to the holidays. They always come around really, really fast, and I don't expect them, but I'm looking forward to the chance to slow down a little bit at the end of the year and see some friends and family. So, today I'm mixing kind of a lot of things in my tea. I am drinking spiced apple, which is a fruit fusion from David's Tea. It includes apple pieces, figs, cinnamon, star anise, chicory, cardamom, cloves, black pepper, natural apple, and spice flavoring. So it is actually technically no tea. It is just an herbal infusion, so it would be great for before bed. I think I'm going to move it out to the kitchen. And it is just kind of a spiced, almost a cider of sorts. And then I am drinking it in my National World War I Museum. mug, which features poppies. The National World War I Museum is actually in Kansas City, and that is kind of an interesting story. Kansas City started taking up collections for the museum right after, or very close to after the World War, and they were the first to erect a monument to World War I, the Great War to end all wars, and so they got designated as the National World War I Museum because they were the first one to completion to open in memory of the war. And yesterday, November 11th, was in the United States, it's Veterans Day, which is our chance to thank those who have served in the U.S. military, but also worldwide it is Remembrance Day, so it felt appropriate to drink in my poppy mug. So that is what I am drinking. Okay, that is really, really, really good. It's like sweet and appley, and it's got a little bit of spice in it, and it is just really tasty. It would be great for holiday drink. You also could probably brew some of that up and add a little bit of wine and make it kind of a mulled cider. I think that would be amazing. So let's talk about what I have going on. I actually have a finished object to show you, and it's funny because it doesn't feel like it belongs to this week, because technically I finished it up last Sunday after we talked. So that is the Antique Flora sweater. So I have been knitting that one for about a little over a month. My records show that I cast on September 25th, and I finished last Sunday, which was November 5th, so it took me like a month and 10 days, and it is a pattern by Wool and Pine for a colorwork yoke sweater, and I used 2 yarns from Zen Yarn Garden. Mine is a sample for Zen Yarn Garden, and there will be kits available probably after the first of the year, and so this is Zen Yarn Garden. And I used their Superfine Fingering, which is a 90% superfine superwash merino, 10% nylon, 400 yards to 100 grams, and I used teal blue and teal blue spatter. So those are the colors that I used. And I basically made this sweater per pattern. I used slightly different needle sizes, and that's just so that I could get gauge. I made the size 37, and based on the way the pattern was written and because it was a sample, I made it per pattern. The only thing I didn't do, and it was marked as optional, was I made 2 tiny changes. One is I didn't make the neckline quite as long. It wanted a heftier neckline than I wanted on it, so I just did kind of a regular crew neck neckline. I just didn't extend the neckband to its full height. And then the other thing that was also marked optional was I did not do waist shaping. If I had it to do again, I probably would, but I didn't this time. So last week when I showed you, it still had about half of a sleeve to go, and so that is finished. And then I washed it, blocked it, and woven all my ends, and then trimmed all of those ends. And so this is the finished sweater. So we have 1 sleeve, and we have a 2nd sleeve. We have all that gorgeous color work that extends even beyond where you broke for the sleeves, and then just straight stockinette down into a 3x1 rib. And as I said, I opted to go for sort of a crew neck, so the neckband could have been almost twice as long, but I opted not to do that. So I am incredibly pleased with this. It came out beautifully. There are pictures on my Instagram, and I did put pictures on Ravelry. I do that for the samples that I make, and put those notes about the neckband and the waist shaping in there, and otherwise completely per pattern. Again, the size 37, and it is lovely. I still think it looks like Cthulhu, especially down there at the bottom, but it is a lovely colorwork project. I would say that this is one of the hardest projects I have done in a while. Challenging for me because of the colorwork and maintaining tension, and ultimately it came out fine. I blocked it out, and I think it looks great, but this was definitely a challenging project for me because I don't enjoy large bouts of color work in the round, and I just find it difficult to maintain tension over such a large project. So you likely will not see me knitting this one again for myself, but it was a good project. It built some skills, and I certainly got more practice. I mean, really the answer is I should practice more, but it is just not my my favorite. So, but I do love the sweater. The pattern is really well written. It is, I mean, it's easy enough. There's nothing difficult about it other than that you have to maintain tension through a lot of color work. So I definitely wouldn't do this as your first color work project, but if you love color work, then you will find this an enjoyable knit. Really, it's really my personal preference, not anything else. So that is that done. And like I said, I've already taken some pictures and I will be sending that off to the photographer shortly. So that is what is finished this week. Then I have a bunch of projects that are in progress. So I did not make a lot of progress on my mom's socks. I probably should have made more. I talked about wanting to maybe finish the first sock this week, and I did not because I got distracted by my nanny Swaymo and other things. But this one will go with me on our trip, and if it's all I knit in the car for a day or two, then so be it, because these will need to be done. I think I'm basically at the point where I'm going to insert a heel. So I am knitting the blueberry waffle socks for my mom. I am knitting them in a fingering weight yarn. The original pattern calls for DK weight. The yarn that I'm using, the colorway is called Blackberry Jam, and it is from a semi-local to me dyer, and it is really pretty. It is pooling a little bit, but I don't mind it too much, and it's just got all these rich colors in it, and I think it's going to be really, really pretty. So again, I'm knitting the blueberry waffle socks. It's just a broken rib pattern, and I might actually go just a little bit further before I start the heel. I am knitting these for my mom. Her feet are very small, but she needed a little bit more room in the ankle, and so because she's having trouble getting some of her other socks that I knit her over her feet. My guess is they have shrunk just a little bit, and also she has arthritis, so her ankles may have swollen just a little bit, and so I just want to knit her some socks that are comfier for her. So it's a really nice, it's a 75-25 merino nylon base, and so they feel nice and cozy, and I think she'll like them, and they should be good for her. I just need to finish them, so hopefully I'll work on those this week, and actually I have a few meetings this week, so maybe I will work on them then. I need to keep these out so that I do work on these. So that is what's going on there. The next project that I want to show you is my Nanny Swaymo, and last week I showed you a swatch that I had made of all the colors, and I decided to make Sorrel, which is also by Wool and Pine. They were the designers of the Antique Flora that I just showed you, and Sorrel is a top-down sweater. It has a yoke patterning, but it's not color work. It has a yoke patterning using dipped stitches, which create really nice textural details, and it has it was knit in, well, okay, there are a variety of versions of Sorrel. They made several versions so that there can be a summer and a spring and a whatnot. The original Sorrel pattern, which is what I am knitting, is meant to be knit with one strand of fingering weight and then one strand of lace weight. They used, I believe, a mohair silk, and I'm using a brushed Surrey alpaca silk because I don't particularly care for mohair. And I showed you all my colors last week, and I chose really like blues and greens, and so I chose that because my mohair is kind of this dark bluey teal. It's got a little bit of green in it, but it's pretty dark. And then I have a variety of other colorways that I am using with teals and greens and a variety of other things. And I have made some really good progress on this. I am not terribly far from, well, that's not entirely true, but I'm not terribly far. I'm still probably 20 to 30 rows, but I'm more than halfway through before where I get to where I divide for the sleeves. So this is what I have so far. And again, it is top down, and then you are doing these dip stitches, which create these really fun textural columns, and then there is reverse stockinette in between. And you are, every so often, you're making increases, probably using the Elizabeth Zimmerman percentage method, but I don't know for sure. Then I am starting to, about here, I started to weave in my new color, and I didn't quite follow all their instructions. They wanted the transition to be over 20 rows, and I think I did mine over 12 or 14. I didn't really follow it to the letter because I really wanted to get this gorgeous blue in, and yeah, I kind of did what I could. You can see where I alternated some, so we've got a little bit of everything. And at this point, I have actually cut off this color, so moving on, everything's going to be in the slightly darker. But I think the transition looks nice. I mean, you can definitely see like what section of the sweater I started it in, but I think it's going to be really nice, and I'm really excited about this. So this is chart 1 is finished of the pattern. Chart 2 is just like one repeat, and then chart 3 kind of varies the lengths of these columns a little bit. So I still have more to do before I split. And again, this is a top-down yoke, so it's going to look a little bit longer through because it's going to have to cover the shoulders. It's going to get big, and it's going to have to kind of cover down to here. It's hard to show. It's more like the other sweater in the sense that it's not like raglan shaping, which is, well, this one isn't raglan either. This one is, yeah. This one's a drop shoulder. Anyway, so my hope is that maybe I'll be ready to separate for the sleeves before we head out on our trip. I don't know that I am going to finish this in NaNeSueMo. No, National Knit a Sweater Month in November. I really don't think I am going to make it. A lot of years I have been fairly far into the knitting, and so with all the extra knitting time in the car, I have finished my sweater over the Thanksgiving break and been able to actually wear it for family pictures and then, you know, be done. I don't think I'm going to actually get that done, but we will see. But I do think I'm going to need most of the trip home, and honestly, I'm not even sure that I'm going to finish it there. If I can get it through the yoke, then I can just do the stockinette body or reverse stockinette body and then go back and do the sleeves. But again, I don't think I'm going to make it. I still have not, I have not made a decision on the length of the sweater. I'm sort of seeing how far my brushed suri goes. I have about 1,000 yards of the brushed suri. The pattern, if I want to make full sleeves and a full-length body, would probably take about 1,200. I did order another skein of the brushed suri, but it has not shipped yet. And so I don't know, it's been about a week. Well, okay, I haven't gotten an update that it has shipped. It may have shipped. She's semi-local to me, so it could just show up this week. But I have not gotten an update that it shipped, and my fear is it's not going to be here before I leave, in which case that's pretty much going to make my decision for me. I'm probably going to, once I split for the sleeves, I'm probably going to do the sleeves first, and then I will just do what I can with the body and or finish off with the other skein when I get back. So, yeah, to be continued. So that is what I'm working on. I am knitting it per pattern. The only modification I have made thus far is, again, I didn't make the neckline as tall as it could be. In this one, they make the neckline extra tall, so it's almost like a mock turtleneck in a couple of the versions. And basically they said, if you don't want to do that, just make it a little shorter. So I made it a little shorter. But otherwise, I have not made any modifications. I am knitting the 3rd size, which I can't remember what the... I can't remember whether it's a 38 or a 42. This one is meant to have some ease, but I'm knitting the 3rd size in the pattern, so which usually translates to about a medium and about a 38-inch bust. What I can't remember is if it's a 42, the finished size is going to be 42, which would give me 4 inches of positive ease, or that might be the next size in the pattern. I can't remember, and I haven't printed the pattern out. I have it on my computer, although that reminds me, I should print it out since we're going to be traveling. Although actually, once I finish the yoke, I probably won't need the pattern that much because it's just a question of how long to knit it, and yeah. Because there's no charts on the rest of it. The chart is just to show you where to put in the dip stitches and where to put in the increases. And there are written instructions as well. I just prefer knitting from charts. So that is what I'm working on there. Now, I had no business, none, 0, casting on anything new this week. And I did anyway because that's how I am. So I turned around at one point during the week, and you can see all of my stash here. Well, not all of my stash, but a good chunk of my stash here behind me. And I saw the bag where I had been putting away Christmas gifts, scraps of Christmas sock yarns. And I have lots and lots of sock yarn scraps, but at one point I took like all of the ones from my Christmas socks and that I've made over the years and put them into one little bag along with some solids that I had and thought maybe one day I will make a Christmas blanket. And I don't know what specifically this week made me want to do it. This is not a project that's going to be worked on a lot. It's not a project that's going to be done fast. It's not a project I have very much yarn for, because a lot of what I have is like 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 grams left over of sock yarn. But I decided that I wanted to do a sock yarn scrap blanket and do it only in Christmas colors. So I chose the Northeasterly pattern, and now I can't remember who it is by. It might be Skenanigans, but I'll have to look. I can't remember. I will look, and it will be in the pattern show notes. It will be in the show notes, which are at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and I will have it for next time. And Northeasterly is basically a chevron blanket, but it is knit in columns. And so you can use small bits of sock yarn to do, basically the idea was that it would be a leftover scrapped blanket. It can be done in DK weight or it can be done in fingering weight. And the idea is that you would use, particularly if you were using bits of sock weight and they were self-striping sock weight, you could put them into small columns so that you could actually see the progression of stripes. Whereas if you were knitting like a full wide blanket that was a couple hundred stitches wide, if you had a self-striping yarn, you wouldn't get to see those self-stripes because they're just too long over that distance. They're written, or they're designed to be socks, so they're designed to only have about 60 stitches. So then what you do is you kind of, so you make the first strip, however long you want, and then you modularly join them as you go. So as you're knitting the next strip, you are joining it to the first strip, and so on and so forth. So I started this week. Like I said, I had no business starting, but I did it anyway, and this is what I have so far. And it's just a little bit, it's a little messy, the borders are a little funky, and so I sent a picture of it to my friend saying it kind of looks like the dog's breakfast, but this is what I have so far. So I am just taking my Christmas themed sock yarns, and then I'm taking some pinks and some reds and some greens, and I am putting them into this blanket. So this down here is a sock yarn that I actually haven't knit for myself with. I knit some socks for Miles, and then I had this yarn and I was thinking about making socks for myself this year, but actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of it. I love it. It's great colors, and it is called Whoville. And so it is from the Who's in Whoville in The Grinch. And so it's got like a Grinchy kind of acidy green, and then it's got reds and pinks. And then I just have a little bit of this pink. This was just kind of a pale pink, but I think it's going to go fine. And then what I'm working on right now is I am working on this variegated yarn that I don't know what the name of it is. It is green and red and pink, and a friend of mine so she cranked a sock tube. She has a sock machine, and she cranked a sock tube in this yarn and used the pink as the starter and the ending yarn. And so these are yarns that I got from her. And so I actually have a pair of socks that are Christmas themed socks. I used red, I think, for the heels, toes, and cuffs. And so I am knitting off of the leftover sock tube onto my blanket. And so this is what it will look like, kind of all knit up. And this was the pink that she used. This is the other end. And so I am knitting it off onto here. And what I have decided is, so the pattern gives you the instructions for how many stitches to cast on and how to sort of make your chevron pattern. And so what I am doing is deciding how many garter ridges I want to do for each section. And what I decided is that I want to do multiples of 5. So like the first one is 20, this one is 15. So far I think I only have 5 on this one. I'm going to do more than 5 on this one, but I'm going to do increments of 5, and then I'm going to vary them so that there are different lines, so it looks very patchworky when I get done. So it's not going to be chevrons all the way across. It's just going to look like a variety of chevrons. So I have a variety of yarns in here. Actually, this is the very first yarn that I used in my sorrel, and it was kind of a Christmas tree or a forest colorway, like a winter pine colorway, and so I thought that would be kind of nice to add in there. I have well, so this is the Whoville colorway. I have leftovers from Christmas Socks Past. This is a gingerbread house colorway from Stranded Dye Works. I have a pair of socks in this colorway, and it's got a little bit of brown, and it's got red and green, and it's a little twinkle light. I have, now I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to be able to use this one because this one might be sport weight. I can't remember. This was also a either Gingerbread House or Sugar Plum Fairy colorway, and it is a self-striping. And, oh, you know what? It might be Desert Vista. I can't remember. I'm going to have to look back. This might be Nutcracker. I can't remember. It's got a brown, a white, and then it's also got kind of a twinkle light colorway, like a red, green, yellow, kind of on a neutral background. So I have that one. I have, let me see. So I found some of this, I don't know what this was from, but I found some of this acid green, which I thought would be a nice semi-solid. I have, so, this was a Christmas colorway. I think it was called Christmas Lights. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is a sock. I knit a pair of socks for myself, and then I think I knit a pair of socks for the kids, and then I tried to knit one more pair of socks for the kids, and I got about this far, and then I only had a very little bit left. And so I'm just gonna unpick this, I didn't even wind in the ends because I knew I couldn't get the second sock. And so I'm just going to open this up and unpick it, and I will use some of this in my blanket. And what else did I find? This is, these are from a pair of socks I made maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They were the Getting Down Party Up socks. And this is a Christmas colorway. It's got a couple different greens and a teal and, or like a forest pine green, and it's got a bunch of greens and reds and teals, and this is from Knitterly Things, and I can't remember, Joyful Noise. Joyful Noise. So this is a self-striping. And then what else do I have in here? I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to use this one or not. This one is pink and a little bit of purple, and I cannot, oh yes, I used, this is a, no, maybe it's not. Oh, these, this was, I do know what this is. This is from my Oleander socks, and this was a colorway, I believe, by Northbound Knitting, and it came with a semi-solid hot pink to use for heels and toes, and this is the leftovers, and so I don't know 100% if I'm going to use this one, but I think it kind of fits with a lot of the other colors that I have, so I might. And then this is definitely not a Christmas yarn. This is a yarn that I used to knit a baby sweater recently. It is a spun right round, but to me it's gray and then it has all the different colors in it. So honestly, it looks a little bit like Christmas lights to me. So I think that's close enough that I can go ahead and use it in there. And then, oh, and then I have a variety of things. This was the skein of red that I used with these socks to do heels and toes for, and so I still have plenty of red left. And then I have like yarn scraps that somebody gave me, and these are both little bits of red in fingering weight, so I'm gonna go ahead and use those in there. And then I think what else do I have? I have a few other things in here that I put aside, and I don't know if they're gonna work. So this is, I believe, Malabrigo lace weight, and I have two balls of this, and it is, the colors are right. I don't know whether the thickness is going to be right. If I can hold the 2 lace weight doubled and get a fingering weight, which I think I can, I might use some of that. And then I do have, although I don't think I'm going to use this, I have a bunch of Dale Garn Baby Wool. And the reason that I pulled this out is because it's the right colors, but the issue is that this is a little bit thicker than most of the sock yarns, and so I don't want it to be, disruptive to what I am. I don't want them to be like varying sizes. So maybe, but maybe not. And then the last thing I have in here, and this won't get added for a little bit, but this is a Christmas sock yarn that I got on a D-stash. It is Nomadic Yarns, and it is one of her Christmas colorways, and it's got red and 2 greens and a purple and kind of a lavender in it. And this is going to be my Christmas Eve cast-on socks for this year. I'm not going to do hand-spun, but this is going to be really great, and it's going to have all the colors. So I'm just going to make socks for myself, and this is a full skein of sock yarn, so it's either 438 or 463. I can't remember which weight of yarn it is, and the tag fell off. I'll have to find the tag. It's not in here. in one of my bins. Anyway, I do know what this is. This is Nomadic Sock Yarns, and it's just going to be great to put in the blanket. So that is what I am starting with. I don't know how far I'll get because, again, it's not a lot for a whole sock yarn blanket. I also don't know how much time I'm really going to spend on this. I have a million other things I should be doing, and so I am limiting myself to just a few rows a day on the project itself, because I just don't want to get too caught up in it. Sorry, I need to pull this one out so I can, and not let all of these other ones tangle up in it. So that is kind of what I'm working on in a little bit of free time, and my guess is this will be kind of a holiday project for me. I still have a bazillion knits to do. I have a big long list in my notebook of all the things that I need to do before the end of the year. And again, like I said, I had no business doing this, but this is probably going to be like a meetings and, you know, other times, and I'll probably work on it through the Christmas season, and then I'll probably put it away for a year, and maybe pull it out next year. Also, I will tell you, I am not above buying a few skeins of Christmas themed yarns. I'm certainly not above buying some solids if I need to finish the blanket, but I'm really not above buying some skeins of Christmas yarns so that I can have more color and more things in this blanket, which I realize is not really how you're supposed to do a scrap blanket, but given that I decided I wanted to make it for Christmas only, that's kind of where I'm going with it. So, quick sip of cider tea, and then I will move on to a little bit of spinning, and then we'll be done for today. So I wanted to show you the spin that I finished. I hadn't finished this when we talked. I guess I had the singles together and ready to ply. And so I finished this one this week. This is Southern Cross Fiber, and it is Superwash Merino in the colorway Allegory, and it is the perfect fall yarn. It is oranges and browns and yellows and a little bit of green, and it is just really bright and cheerful, but very, very fall colored. But those yellows are almost neon bright in there a little bit, along with some brown. So that is kind of fun. It is 286 yards of really squishy, soft handspun. I know that may not be enough for socks, but I think it would be enough for a cowl or a handspun hat, and it would be really lovely. It's probably measuring in at a Sport to DK weight, and this will go up in the shop possibly today, probably tomorrow. So that is that one. I will probably finish one more spin before I get out of town, and that is, I also misspoke about this spin last week. So this is Hello Yarn, and I went on and on about Corriedale last week, and it turns out it's Cormo, which is an entirely different. So Cormo is soft and squishy. It's not, I talked about how Corriedale was a great blend for socks because it's a little sturdy and whatnot. This is Cormo. It is much softer. It is definitely next to the Skin Soft, and this is in the Fig and Port colorway, which is kind of also fall and holiday themed. And I have spun up the first bobbin. I did that this week, and so it is kind of pinks and sugar plum purple and some browns, and it is just a really, really nice colorway. And so I have the first bobbin done. I hope to get working on the second bobbin tonight, and maybe even plying it on Wednesday before we leave. It will not make it into the shop before we leave, and I will be closing down my shop for the Thanksgiving week because I will not be home to ship, and I'll get penalized if I can't ship right away. So if there's anything that you wanted in there, check it this week so I can mail it out before I leave. Otherwise, it will be closed for Thanksgiving week, and then it will reopen as soon as I return. So this is Fig, Leaf, and Port, and that is what I'm going to work on today. So, this is the last time I will be seeing you for a bit. Like I said, we are going to California. I am taking my laptop for work, and I'm taking my phone because obviously I'm taking my phone. So there is the possibility that I will record a podcast while I am out there. My guess is not next Monday, because next Monday will be the last day that we are driving, and I will get to my parents sometime on Monday. But on Tuesday, depending on what the plans of the day are and on what the weather's like, I might actually sit outside on their patio, and I can do a little bit of a podcast and show you what I'm knitting. I am not taking my spinning stuff with me. I am taking lots and lots of knitting projects with me. I'll be taking my Well, so the two things that I will definitely be taking for sure are my mom's socks, because I need to finish those, and my Nanny Swaymo sweater, because I would like to finish that, although I am not sure that I will be finished with that. The other two projects that I'm contemplating taking, and I'll just have to see how it goes, is I may take some chicken knitting with me. I'll just have to see. I'm supposed to go back there this week and drop off what I have been working on for the last week and a half. And if she gives me more to work on for over the holidays, then I may take some of that with me. And then the next big project that I need to work on after I finish my Nanny Swaymo sweater is I need to work on that baby blanket. And actually I have the swatch here. Ugh. I have a friend who is due to have their second child in January, and I knit their first a baby blanket, so I decided I wanted to knit their second a baby blanket. And I decided I kind of wanted to do like a chevron theme, and I did a little bit of a Charlie Brown theme here, and then I ordered some blue denim yarn. And I have talked about all of this on the podcast, but I really haven't done anything with it. I did go ahead and calculate, I can't remember which way, I guess this goes this way. This is the direction. So it's fairly subtle, but you can see the chevron. It's just made by knit and purl stitches. And then I went ahead and did an I-cord edging, which I really like. It kind of finishes it off. This obviously is just the swatch, not the full blanket. I went ahead and did all the math, and I did the I-cord cast on, and so I am ready to go on this project. And so I'm probably going to take it in the car with me, because should I manage to finish my Nanny Swaymo sweater, this would be the perfect project to work on in the car on the way home. It's just a lot of very basic knitting. Once I get the pattern started, I'll be able to follow, because obviously I can follow the triangular shapes and patterns created, and it's just a very small chart, so I can take that with me. So I think those are going to be the four things that I take with me. I do have another sample that I need to cast on, but I think I will probably not cast that on until I get back. It is a one skein shawl, and so I think I'll probably try and work on that the first couple weeks that I am back and get that one cranked out before the end of the year. And then I have another small baby gift, and then I just have a variety of projects I would like to get back to. So, you know, I've got a crochet ripple blanket going along. I just started a new blanket. I have a few other things that I have started this year, and I also would like to go through, and if I have anything that's on the needles that I think I'm not going to follow through with, I would like to rip it so that I can start my new year fresh. So I think that's a little preview of what's coming and what I'll be up to in the next couple weeks. If I do not see you next week, which I don't know whether I will, for those of you that are in the US and celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday, I hope you have a lovely holiday. I realize that Thanksgiving is definitely fraught with some difficult political concepts, but for me, it has always been a time to make our favorite foods and to spend time with family. And that is not to say that we are not privileged and that there are not plenty of things that we should be grateful for, but I will just say we generally do not focus on celebrating the origins of the holiday, but rather just celebrating it as a time for us all to gather and make foods that my grandmother has made for years and just enjoy each other's company. So, I hope that your next few weeks are lovely. I hope that you are in good health, that you are enjoying whatever season you are in, and I hope that you have lots of crafting mojo and are enjoying this time of year. I will say until I see you again, and it may be just a little bit, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.